What a game, Bills fans. You could feel it from the very first drive. Something about Josh Allen just looked different. This wasn't the same version we saw a few weeks ago, the one who looked rushed in the pocket or a little off with his ball placement. No, this was the confident, surgical Josh Allen that every Bills fan knows is capable of tearing apart any defense in the league. From his very first throw, you could sense that rhythm, that balance, that calm energy that makes him so dangerous when he's fully in control of his mechanics. And when you look back at the numbers, it's not just the eye test that proves it. Allen was unbelievably efficient. Over 92% of his throws were catchable, the highest percentage of any starting quarterback in the league this week. That's not just a hot streak. That's a reflection of the hours he's clearly spent cleaning up his throwing motion and tightening his fundamentals. And what's so impressive about that is that this performance didn't come from a game plan filled with quick screens or safe little dump-offs. Josh was aggressive. He attacked every single level of the field, on deep throws, 20 yards or more downfield. He was a perfect 3 for 3 with 81 yards and a touchdown. That's vintage Allen, fearless, confident, and totally in sync with his receivers. On intermediate routes, 10 to 19 yards down the field, he was nearly perfect again, completing 4 of 5 passes for 88 yards. It wasn't just about the completions, though. It was the placement. Every ball was right where it needed to be, high and away from defenders when it needed to be, low and precise when only the receiver could grab it. You could almost feel how deliberate each throw was. That's the kind of performance that tells you he's been putting in serious work behind the scenes. He even mentioned after the game that he's been grinding on his mechanics, focusing on staying slotted, meaning his throwing motion stays aligned from his feet to his shoulders. You could tell that attention to detail paid off. The sequencing looked clean. His body control looked smoother. It felt like his lower body and upper body were finally in perfect sync again. When Josh is throwing like that, there's not a defense on this planet that can completely stop him. And honestly, that's what we've been waiting to see. Not just the big highlight plays, but the discipline and precision that make those highlights possible in the first place. Now, to be fair, he's not all the way back yet. You can still see moments where he gets a little antsy in the pocket. There were a few plays where he felt pressure that wasn't really there, bailed out a little early, and ended up taking unnecessary sacks. It's small stuff, but those are the details that separate a great game from a perfect one. I'd say Josh is about 88% back to full form, and that's a pretty scary thought for defenses, because if this is him at 88%, imagine when he hits 100. There were a couple of snaps where his pocket awareness slipped just a bit, a couple of clean pockets that he scrambled out of, maybe expecting heat that didn't actually come. You can understand it, though, especially when you're facing a guy like Steve Spagnuolo, who loves to disguise pressure and send unexpected blitzes at the worst possible times. That's just classic Spags. Late downs, long field goal range, anywhere he can create confusion, that's where he thrives. And we all remember that 3rd and 10 screen that had everyone frustrated. But when you look at it closely, it actually made sense in context. Josh had just been rattled on the previous play, expecting pressure that didn't come, and you could tell the coaches wanted to calm things down with a quick call. It didn't work out, but the logic was there. Sometimes the film explains what the scoreboard doesn't. Of course, Josh still took 3 sacks in the game, and 2 of those were definitely on him. A little too hesitant on a couple reads, maybe not trusting what he saw in time to pull the trigger. But honestly, those are minor issues when you look at the full picture. The accuracy, the command, the comfort in the offense, all of that was back. And it wasn't just him either. The offensive line deserves a ton of credit for this one. They gave him time. They held up against pressure. He was only pressured on 13% of his dropbacks, which is the second lowest rate for any quarterback this week. That's insane considering how much Kansas City blitzed. Spagnuolo sent extra rushers on over a third of the drawbacks, but Josh handled it beautifully. 10 completions on 10 attempts against the blitz for 84 yards. That's what you want to see. Quick decisions, confidence, composure. That's when this offense looks unstoppable. Play action was another huge part of the game plan, and it worked exactly how it was supposed to. Josh went 8 for 8 for 94 yards when using play action. That efficiency at its finest. It kept the defense guessing and opened up the middle of the field, especially for the tight ends. And speaking of tight ends, Dalton Kincaid. What a night. That kid is proving every week why he was a first-round pick. Over 100 receiving yards, elite hands, precise route running, and chemistry with Josh that's clearly hitting another level. You can see the trust now. Josh doesn't hesitate to go to him, especially in tight windows. Kincaid has become that security blanket who's also a big play threat. He's not just catching easy stuff underneath. He's creating mismatches all over the field. When you have a tight end who can stretch the seam, win on option routes, and make contested grabs, that completely changes how defenses play you. It opens everything up for the rest of the offense. And here's a crazy stat. This was the first game in Bills history where they had both a 100-yard rusher and a 100-yard tight end. Think about that for a second. That's decades of football, and it's never happened until now. James Cook deserves his flowers too. He didn't even get a touchdown this time, but he ran with patience and power. 27 carries, most of them on gap runs, and you could tell the coaching staff trusted him to grind out yards even when things got tough. The way they used Reggie Gilliam as a lead blocker was really smart. Instead of the traditional straight-line fullback look, they had him offset and moving at an angle, which forced the linebackers to hesitate just long enough for the play to develop. That's the kind of small detail that makes a big difference in a physical game like this. The Chiefs hadn't allowed a 100-yard rusher in over 20 games, but the Bills broke that streak. Their run blocking was tough, organized, and aggressive. Even when Kansas City tightened things up in the second half, the Bills stuck to it. They stayed balanced, didn't panic, and it paid off. You could tell they wanted to send a message with that run game, that this offense can beat you however it wants, whether it's Josh Allen throwing lasers or James Cook pounding it between the tackles. That balance is what's going to make them dangerous down the stretch. One of the biggest unsung heroes, though, was the offensive line. Those guys up front played every snap, and they played with purpose. You could see the plan. They attacked Kansas City's interior rush early, got hands on Chris Jones before he could get loose, and used his own aggressiveness against him. There was even a zone read play that completely exposed him. Perfect design, perfect execution. That's the kind of chess match you want to see when the stakes are high. And for the first time in a while, it felt like the Bills' offense had answers for everything. The timing was there, the spacing was right, and most importantly, Josh looked like himself again. You could feel the energy in the huddle, the communication, the confidence. Every time he dropped back, it felt like something good was about to happen. And honestly, that's what Bills fans have been waiting for. That feeling of control, of identity, of knowing that when Josh Allen is in rhythm, this team can go toe-to-toe with anybody. The mechanics, the footwork, the precision, the chemistry, it all came together in this game. Sure, there are still a few areas to clean up. A little pocket discipline here, a few decision-making tweaks there. But this version of Josh Allen, the one who's patient, confident, and mechanically sharp, that's the one that can take the Bills right back into the heart of the playoff picture. And if this is the new standard moving forward, Buffalo might just be heating up at exactly the right time. If you kept watching that game unfold, you could see how the Bills' offense started to evolve in real time. It wasn't just about Josh Allen slinging the ball or James Cook finding lanes on the ground. It was the rhythm, the sequencing, the flow of how everything worked together. That's what made this performance so impressive. Every drive felt purposeful, like every call was setting up the next one. You could sense that offensive coordinator Joe Brady had finally found a groove with the way he was mixing things up, balancing the run and the pass, and giving Josh opportunities to make decisions with confidence. Even the screenplays that some fans hate to see had a reason. They weren't random or lazy calls. They were calculated setups to keep Kansas City's blitz looks honest. The Chiefs are known for showing pressure from all over the field, so the Bills had to give them something to think about. And when you watch closely, you could see those screen passes start to open up space later in the game, especially in the seams, where Kincaid and Shakir were able to get free. That's the kind of offensive maturity Buffalo has been missing. It's not just about hitting big plays, it's about creating opportunities for those big plays to exist. You throw a few screens, you force linebackers and safeties to hesitate, and suddenly that intermediate route becomes wide open. You fake a jet motion with Curtis Samuel or Khalil Shakir, and now the defense shifts just enough to open up the backside. It's all about rhythm, patience, and understanding how to manipulate a defense over 4 quarters. For the first time in weeks, the Bills looked like a team that had a plan and believed in it. Dalton Kincaid was at the heart of that. Every route he ran had precision. Every catch looked smooth and natural. There's something about his connection with Josh Allen that feels effortless now, like they're reading the same page before the play even starts. When Josh targets him, his passer rating this year has been almost perfect. That's not by accident. Kincaid's ability to find soft spots in coverage and turn short throws into explosive gains changes the whole shape of this offense. He's not just another option. He's becoming the focal point of the passing attack. Watching him glide across the middle of the field, extending plays, catching through contact, that's the kind of player who defines big games in December and January. But the Bills weren't just a passing team in this one. The ground game was dominant, physical, and patient. 35 runs for 141 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the kind of balance that wins games against top-tier opponents. Josh Allen had 2 of those scores himself, powering through defenders like a linebacker with a rocket attached. He's always been dangerous in the red zone, but what stood out here was the confidence in how the offense committed to running the ball. No panic, no desperation, just methodical, tough football. James Cook carried most of the load, and he ran like a man on a mission. 27 carries against a defense that prides itself on stopping the run, and he made every one of them count. The mix of gap and zone runs was smart, too. 18 gap runs gave the Bills a physical edge up front, and 9 zone runs added a bit of unpredictability. You could see the offensive line loving that mix, firing off the ball with energy and purpose. And Reggie Gilliam, what a difference maker. The way they used him, offset from the formation, almost like a hybrid fullback and tight end, created all kinds of problems for Kansas City's linebackers. They were reading him for keys, but his angles and timing kept them frozen. It's those small details, that half second of hesitation from a linebacker, that could turn a modest gain into a first down. The Chiefs' defense hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher in more than 20 games, and the Bills broke that streak. That's a statement. And it wasn't because Kansas City played poorly. Their linebackers were flying around, especially Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal. Those guys are fast, physical, and disciplined. But Buffalo's execution was just better. They were more patient, more deliberate, and more balanced. Even when the Chiefs tried to stack the box or collapse the edges, the Bills found ways to adjust. It's the kind of game that builds confidence not just for the players but for the coaching staff too. They trusted the process, and it paid off. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Rumors are swirling in Buffalo as insiders hint at a move that could shake up the AFC East. Sources close to the team are whispering that a top-tier edge rusher, long considered a thorn in the Bills' side, is on the verge of joining the squad. If true, this would mark one of the most significant defensive acquisitions the franchise has pursued in recent memory. For years, Bills fans have watched opposing edge rushers terrorize their quarterbacks, flipping games with speed, power, and relentless pressure. The idea that a player with that very skill set could now don a royal blue uniform has created an electric buzz around Highmark Stadium. It would instantly elevate the defense to elite status, one league analyst speculated. While the team hasn't confirmed anything publicly, insiders suggest talks have been serious, and terms could be finalized soon. The potential impact cannot be overstated. Buffalo's defensive line, already formidable, would gain a dynamic presence capable of disrupting any offense. Imagine a unit where Aaron Donald-like pressures meet Von Miller-style versatility. Opponents would have to rethink their entire game plan. For a team chasing a Super Bowl, adding a proven edge rusher could be the final piece of a championship puzzle that has teased fans for years. Social media is already ablaze with speculation. Fans are sharing mock lineups, gifs of past rival plays, and bold predictions about sack totals and highlight reels. The rumor also sparks questions about defensive schemes. Will the coaching staff shift to maximize the newcomer's abilities? Will this move trigger other trades or roster adjustments? Every angle is being dissected. While the Bills remain tight-lipped, the energy around this story continues to grow. If the whispers are accurate, this isn't just a signing, it's a statement. The team isn't content with being contenders. They're signaling a serious run for the crown, and the league should take notice. One thing is certain. The rumor alone has already sent shockwaves through the AFC. Buffalo's faithful are waiting with bated breath. Could this edge rusher finally tip the scales and turn the Bills into an unstoppable defensive juggernaut? If the chatter proves true, the AFC, and perhaps the entire NFL, will never be the same. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.